Alright, Arrow fans, time to take a look at the final episode of Arrow Season 5, Lian Yu. The scene was Oliver discharging Slade and taking out the August money doled out to keep him in his cell. Slade says to the mere crew that made him crazy as exhausted that everything feels like an awful dream. Slade inquires why Oliver didn't slaughter him for murdering his mom. However, Oliver gives Slade a glimmer drive containing information on Slade's child, Joe. Oliver says he has discovered both her children and gives Deathstroke his old covering. Oliver brings the newcomers Slade and Joker Harkness, otherwise known as Captain Boomerang, to get together with Nissa and Malcolm. An RPG flies in for the Willen and crushes Oliver's plane, destroying their lone ride home. In a flashback, Gavar finds Oliver has gotten away from his jail and Chris is meant to discover him. Oliver makes a straight shot to his truck in the forested areas. However, Gavar is meant to discover him and corner him. In the current day, Oliver separates his new Arrow group to discover his child and different prisoners. Oliver Slade and Harkness discover Felicity via Curtis and William's mom Samantha confines, yet they rapidly find it's a snare. Child and Evelyn spring up from a tree, and Oliver and Slade uncovers Harkness was working for Chase from the beginning. Child and Harkness offers Slade an opportunity to switch sides. Deathstroke appears switches sides, however then uncovers he was simply attempting to incapacitate Harkness. While Deathstroke pummels Harkness, Oliver prevents Talia from executing Samantha. At the point when Nissa and Malcolm appears, Talia and Harkness escapes in a puff of smoke. In a flashback, Oliver uses a blade to slaughter the greater part of Kavar's men, and afterward escapes to the forested areas with a rifle. Kavar heads after him to finish him. Back at the current day, Deathstroke places Evelyn in an enclosure so Oliver can examine her. Oliver at that point sends the Felicity and Curtis to locate the plane they accompanied and sends Malcolm with them to protect them. Felicity kisses Oliver before she leaves, said they'd well like to know whatever else about their relationship. Dark Siren takes Diggle and Quentin to a religious community on the island where Renee and Dinah are being held. Oliver, Nissa, and Slade have a go at following Talia through the forested areas, however loses the path. Nissa runs ahead, while Slade gives Oliver a motivational speech. Slade says Oliver is experiencing survivor's blame, that Oliver's previous will continue frequenting him until he excuses himself for the passing of his dad. Samantha reveals to Felicity that she's remaining on the island to discover William. Then, the inadvertently steps on a landmine while contending with Malcolm. Malcolm offers to switch places with her and afterward persuasively switches with her when she cannot. Malcolm says that all he's at any point needed was to ensure her. The attempts to contend with her more, yet they're hindered by the appearance of Harkness and a portion of Chase's men. Malcolm orders them to leave. However, at the point where Harkness draws near, Malcolm throws the landmine, seemingly executing them both. Oliver and Nissa and Slade locate the plane where Oliver and Slade lived in for some time, and afterward Nissa brings up the monastery out yonder. In a flashback, Oliver slaughters a great amount of Kavar's men, while Joe Kavar comes after him with a helicopter. When Nissa and Slade enter the monastery, Oliver advises Nissa to separate. When Nissa leaves, Slade takes Oliver out and tells a moving toward Black Siren that he has a present for Chase. Slade and Black Siren drop Oliver off in the subsequent detainee room. Oliver gets Diggle, Renee, Dinah, and Quentin up on everything that has occurred. In the interim, in a flashback, Oliver kills the helicopter with his weapon. Thea grieves the demise of Malcolm, and Felicity comforts her by saying that Malcolm demonstrated that he adored his little girl. Thea wishes she could have seen a greater amount of good father Malcolm rather than psycho executioner Malcolm. Chris finds the plane, however then rapidly finds that Chase has planted radio-controlled C4 all through the island. Oliver gives Dinah her sonic dampener, which Dinah then uses to break everybody out of their chains. Talia hears Dinah shout, and she's gone up against Nissa. The two rapidly get down to business in a 1v1 sword fight. Nissa gets high ground on Talia, and afterward Deathstroke runs in to take out Talia's different professional killers. At the point when Oliver appears with different detainees, he confirms that he required Deathstroke to sell out him so he could get the dampener to Dinah. In any case, Deathstroke could discover William in the monastery. At the point when Oliver says they have discovered Chase destroys him with a huge amount of professional killers in Black Siren. Chase says that Oliver should execute him to discover William. However, Oliver won't, which starts the beginning of a significant battle. In another flashback, Oliver finds injured Kovar and attempts to slaughter him with his rifle. Oliver's out of shots, and the two begin battling once more. In the interim, Dinah battles Black Siren in a shout-off. Dark Siren gets high ground, however, Quentin takes Black Siren out from behind before she can complete Dinah off. We at that point see Oliver battle Chase in the current day and Kovar in flashbacks. Oliver gets Kovar and Chase in a similar headlock. While Oliver snaps Kovar's negative flashback, he won't kill Chase in the current day. Oliver goes to Chase that he may have been an executioner previously, but he's not an executioner any longer. Oliver says that Chase can censure him for his dad's passing. However, Oliver won't accuse himself any longer. Chase says that William is dead. Oliver challenges his false friend. Plus, he connects with Oliver and says that Chase has the explosive fixed to a dead man's switch, which corroborates with Chase's resolute that Oliver executes him. While Oliver is conversing with Felicity, Chase utilizes the professional killer's smoke stunt to get away. In a flashback, Oliver wears a hairpiece as the Chinese fishing vessel approaches Lian Yu. In the current day, Oliver watches Chase engine away on a vessel. Oliver figures out how to bounce over the pontoon before it leaves and starts battling Chase once more. In flashback, we see the initial scene of Arrow replay again, as Oliver shoots the campfire to flag the anglers and get away from the island. In the current day, Oliver pummels Chase some more. However, Chase uncovers his actual arrangement from the start. Get Oliver off the island with the goal that he can observe everyone his companions by the dust. Incidentally, Chase averted his own plan, so none of Oliver's companions can get away. Chase at that point pulls Williams out of the vessel's lodge and gives Oliver a decision. Murder Chase and spare his child, yet Chase live and observe everyone's companions by the dust. Oliver claims to put his bow down, however shoots Chase in the leg. In the last flashback of the period, Oliver calls his mom, who shows up, and discloses to her that he's alive and returning home. Chase says Oliver has won, however, that he'll be truly forlorn without every one of his loved ones. Chase pulls a weapon and shoots himself, setting off all the explosions on Lian Yu. The scene closes with Lian Yu admitting into bless as Oliver looks exceptionally tragic. Oh shit, that's not good. So anyway, let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. This is the highest rated episode of Arrow with a rating of 9.6 on IMDb. This is the final episode of Arrow to feature flashbacks regarding the 5 years Oliver was away from Starling City, later known as Star City. It's also the final episode of Arrow to feature Josh Shigera as the series regular. The flashback when Oliver wants to alert passing fishermen was being rescued by them was first shown in the pilot. This marks the only time a clip has appeared in both the flashback storyline and the present storyline. The first line of the episode was, "The name of the island they found me on is Lian Yu. It's Mandarin for purgatory," spoken by Oliver. This is the very first line that was ever said on the show in the pilot. The episode's title also reflects the same island of Lian Yu, and written as certain Mandarin characters. So yeah, this is second episode after the return. Takes place entirely on Lian Yu in the present day. The Starling City briefly appears only in the final flashback. This episode marks the first and last appearance of Decker Harkness since The Brave and the Bold. Stephen Amell revealed on May 21st that another announced surprise cameo appearance would happen during this episode, which revealed to be Susanna Thompson as Moira Queen. The first fight between Oliver and Adrian Chase, along with the flashback of Oliver and Constantine Kovar, slightly mirrors the season 2 finale Unthinkable, in which Oliver and Slade Wilson were fighting in the present and in the flashback. It also happened after that when Oliver ran through the forest in the past and present. Adrian's death is very similar to Robert Queen's. Both put a gun to their heads and shoot themselves right through the temple, in front of Oliver, on a boat, within sight of Lian Yu. Adrian's death also mirrors his comic counterpart, suicide. 3 out of the 5 major Arrow season antagonists appear: Malcolm Merlyn, Slade Wilson, and Adrian Chase. However, only Light appears in an antagonistic role. Malcolm and Slade are both seen acting as supporting protagonists. Rachel is mentioned but does not appear, which is only Dewey and Dark as being completely absent. After Curtis finds Adrian's plane, he yells, "To plane, boss, to plane!" a person in the character tattoo from the show Fantasy Island. Coincidentally, Felicity refers to Lian Yu as Fantasy Island in the Season 2 Episode 3 Ghosts. The title card and theme for this episode matches that of Season 1. This is Vanessa McLaughlin's final appearance as Evelyn Sharp, for she will not return for the duration of the series. McLaughlin cannot appear in the series finale, Fade Out, due to prior commitments that cause scheduling conflicts. So overall, it's the final episode of Season 5. This episode is just pretty damn spectacular and just, yeah, now I'm curious as to what happened to everyone else on Lian Yu and if or not they were able to get out of there, so yeah. So overall, I give Lian Yu 5 arrowheads out of 5. Well, thank you all so much for watching this look at Arrow Season 5. Hope you enjoyed it. And tune in next year as we take a look at Arrow Season 6 with the first episode of that season, which is Fallout. And next month is Star Trek Timber, during that month we'll be taking a look at Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 6. So be on the lookout for that. So until next year, in the words of Oliver Queen, you have failed this city.